Showing on this episode of Law Weekly, highlights from the official commissioning of the Body of Benches complex in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari challenges the judiciary to remain fair, especially as the 2023 general elections approaches. Also showing on the program, highlights from the new legal year ceremony of the Lagos Judiciary. The Chief Judge of Lagos gives the assurance that the ICT machinery in the state will be revved up. We also hear from lawyers on their expectations for the new legal year, plus a recap of the top trending legal stories in the news. Hello and welcome to Law Weekly. I am Shola Shieli. The President has restated his administration's commitment to upholding the rule of law and improving the well-being of judicial officers. He made this commitment at the official commissioning of the Body of Benches complex in Abuja. Here's the highlights from that event.
Gathered here at the commissioning of the Body of Benches complex in Abuja are eminent personalities cutting across the legal, executive, and judicial sector. The arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari kickstarts the commissioning, and straight away he performs the ceremony. The chief host, the chairman of the Body of Benches, Chief Wale Olanipekun, takes his guests down memory lane. He describes the edifice as a national monument and explained the importance of the event to the future of the legal profession, while commending the efforts of the Body of Benches for their doggedness and sacrifice.
Today's event represents our onward journey to a society that centralizes the power and privileges inherent in the rule of law, and a reaffirmation of our cooperative steadfastness to the ever-abiding credence of institutional continuity and sustainability. I stand here on behalf of the Body of Benches to applaud the tenaciousness of purpose, the potency of a mutual allegiance, and an unswerving audacity which dates back to several decades. The Benches complex, which had just been commissioned by Mr. President, is but part of a unique blend of aspirations which took root exactly 30 years ago. The idea of a Benches complex was mooted in 1992 when Shibankale Oki, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, was chairman of the Body of Benches. The turning of the sword and groundbreaking ceremony was performed exactly on 28 November 2008. Construction work commenced in earnest, and the ultimate result is this magnificent and befitting project. So much time, talents, and treasures have been invested into this edifice. And when I recall the very stretch of sacrifices made to the realization of this unique facility, which is a national monument, my reaction is best captured in the words of the world-acclaimed bard, William Shakespeare, when he said, "I can no other answer make but thanks, and thanks, and ever thanks."
He also reiterated the need for the independence of the judiciary.
This Benches complex, Mr. President, consists of a 3,000-seating capacity auditorium, a 240-seating capacity meeting room, a 1,000-seating capacity banquet hall, a 1,000 capacity multipurpose hall, committee meeting room, offices for secretarial staff, library, and a courtroom for the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee, amongst others. I say, to God be the glory. Mr. President, sir, this unique occasion affords me a golden privilege to reiterate our earlier calls for a more virile and independent judiciary. There's no gainsaying the fact that our Constitution thrives on the doctrine of separation of powers, ably propounded by the French political philosopher Baron de Montesquieu since 1748. Mr. President, we'll recall that during the Body of Benches meeting with Your Excellency on 28 July 2022, I stated that following pressing and incessant complaints of poor conditions of service by judicial officers across the country, the Body of Benches was compelled to set up a standing committee known as the body of benchers Judiciary Advisory Committee. The fundamental function of this committee is to constantly interface with members of the bench in order to take their concerns and frustrations up with the appropriate authorities. Also critical to its mandate is the task of comparing packages made available to judicial officers in other jurisdictions.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukaide Ariwola, expressed his joy at the completion of the building.
I'm aware of the efforts made by present and past chairmen of the body of benchers to see to the realization of this project. And I'm excited that what started several years ago has today become a reality. I commend sincerely the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as the body of benchers for this laudable project. The realization of this dream is indeed a big boost to the entire legal profession in Nigeria. The monument will no doubt change the landscape and ease the call to bar ceremonies and other very important activities of the body of benchers, and indeed that of the entire legal profession. Our expectation, therefore, is very high that this gigantic edifice will be put to good use. No doubt, with the complex of this project and the completion of same, the challenges faced in time past in securing a befitting venue for the call to bar ceremonies will become a thing of the past. I therefore congratulate the body of benchers on this auspicious occasion, and I thank God Almighty for making it possible.
The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, spoke of the significance of the edifice to the judiciary and implored that it be properly maintained.
Let me be categorical in stating that the significance of today's ceremony transcends the physical commissioning ceremony of this unique edifice. This event further engraves the august body of benchers in our consciousness as legal practitioners. It equally serves as a mark of our common commitment to creating an enabling environment for the advancement of the cause of administration of justice and entrenchment of the rule of law in Nigeria. It is equally pertinent for me to strongly congratulate the past and present leadership of the body of benchers on the critical attainment of commencing and completing this noble addition to the infrastructural landscape of the nation's capital. I implore the management of the body of benchers to ensure that this edifice receive due and prompt maintenance services while also expressing the confidence that the resources in the complex will contribute greatly to the development of legal education and sustenance of ethical standards in the legal profession.
Speaking at the event, President Muhammadu Buhari appreciated the efforts that have gone into the completion of the building. He also restates his administration's commitment to improving the welfare of judges.
This is a major achievement for the body of benchers, as this structure serves to boost infrastructural development of the legal profession. I commend the efforts of the entire body of benchers for being able to deliver this project, which I have been told was embarked on in 2008 and has only now been fully completed. From the information available to me, meetings of the body of benchers were hitherto held at the Supreme Court premises, both in Lagos and Abuja. Now the body has its own beautiful complex which will serve for its meetings, seminars, conferences, and also bring some revenue to its coffers.
The president further reiterated the major role the judiciary should play in ensuring the fairness and sanctity of the 2023 general elections.
For Nigeria to effectively embrace sustainable development, institutions such as the legal profession must remain deeply committed towards promoting good governance. As the 2023 general elections draw near, the significance of the legal profession becomes even more pronounced, considering the vital roles you play in the electioneering process, both at the pre- and post-election stages. I hope you maintain the position of an honest arbiter.
The newly completed building was conceived 30 years ago. It consists of a 3,000 capacity auditorium, meeting rooms, a banquet hall, a multi-purpose hall, a library, courtrooms, amongst others. It is indeed another milestone for the legal profession, and the expectation is that this edifice would be effectively utilized and maintained.
Away from that event, the Lagos State Judiciary has held Thanksgiving services to kickstart the commencement of its new legal year.
The simultaneous Thanksgiving services were held at the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, and the Central Mosque, both on Lagos Island. The Chief Judge of Lagos, Justice Kazim Alugba, leads other judges, magistrates, lawyers of the Muslim faith, and their invited guests into the mosques for prayers. And after prayers, the gathering listened to different speakers who encouraged the judicial officers to continue to deliver justice without fear or favor. The Chief Judge used the opportunity of the celebration to appeal to the state governor, who was represented by his deputy, to prioritize the reconstruction of the burnt Judiciary High Court. The Judiciary Court was burnt down in October 2020 following the hijack of the NSAS protests by hoodlums. Justice Alugba lamented the destruction of the court, noting that it was a monumental edifice that must be revived. The Deputy Governor, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, explained that a trust fund had been set up to rebuild public structures destroyed during the violent protest. He promised that the reconstruction of the Judiciary High Court complex will be the first with the fund. At the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, judges, magistrates, and lawyers of the Christian faith also danced and sang in praises to God for the commencement of a new legal year. The Bishop of the Diocese of Lagos West Anglican Communion, the Reverend Olushola Odedeji, in his sermon encouraged the Lagos State Judiciary to uphold truth and justice at all times. And after the Thanksgiving services, proceedings moved to the main arena of the Tafawa Balewa Square, where the Chief Judge inspected the ceremonial guard of honor as part of activities to mark the commencement of the new legal year. In his interview with Law Weekly, the Chief Judge spoke more about the impact of the burnt court building on the judiciary.
Honestly, anybody who knew that edifice will know that we have lost something that is irreplaceable. We can only copy what was there. We cannot put exactly what was there back then. And then a lot of suffering that the judiciary has had to go through as a result of losing that place. You can imagine a complex that owes about 40-something costs, losing such a place. You just need to know what we've gone through.
The CJ also gave the assurance that the judiciary will rev up its use of technology in the new legal year.
We hope we'll have the funds, but we are committed to it. It's irreversible. That's one of the things, the legacy I would like to leave behind when I'm leaving the judiciary. My first day when I was appointed and confirmed, I did say that I would love a judiciary where your records, the records of every case from day one to the last day, you can just take, a small, like a disk. It's not this, the flash drive. You just take a flash drive of it and you are holding the entirety of your case up to judgment. That's what I dream of. That's what we are working towards. And I know by the grace of God we should be able to achieve it.
Welcome back. Legal practitioners have been speaking about the challenges confronting the judiciary and their expectations for the new legal year. We have the views of a few of them up next.
Inadequate funding of the judiciary, congestion in courts, lack of infrastructure. You have so many of them. You recall that the president or the new CJN has set up a new agenda. And by that new agenda, everybody is hopeful that a lot of all the issues that have plagued the judiciary before now will be addressed. If you look at the salary of a judge today, for the state high court, maybe about 500,000 naira. And for the federal high court, maybe 600,000 naira. Convert that to dollar, because they go to the same market. And then you will be able to appreciate the problem besetting that sector.
The challenge that I always see has always been one and the same. You know, the backlogs in court, having your matter in court, your matters in court for forever, which is no fault of anybody, probably because of numbers of judges that we have. So we feel that there should be mechanisms. There should be increase in the numbers of the people that sit on that bench, so that we can have all matters settled expeditiously. Of course, lawyers will also help in this kind of issue, because they will also help in this kind of matter by not filing frivolous applications and not unnecessarily dragging matters in court, so that we can have all matters settled expeditiously.
Our courts, especially, has been under reconstruction, and it's made procedures to be a bit tight, and we believe that well, this legal year we have just commenced, that those structures, especially the structures, our high court at Judiciary there, the magistrate courts, you know, they are still, after the NSAS saga and all that. So I believe that, especially because it has made us, most of our cases are all scattered to other courts. So this year, we believe that those things will be put in place. Our judges are trying, because it's made them to have a lot to do.
I would want to see that the judiciary increases its effort in seeing that the time spent in court when matters make it to court is shorter. I mean, if a matter can be resolved in a year or a couple of months, why take 5 years? Also, in this era, COVID has taught us a number of things. COVID had its own bad sides and good sides. But of the good sides of COVID is that people can be in the comfort of their homes or offices or wherever they are, and they can access the internet and have matters resolved. I honestly do think that, except for matters of very serious nature, where you have very contentious applications or matters that are for trial, lawyers really don't need to go to court physically for every matter. Some of the matters that go to court are time sensitive because they are commercial matters. Some of these matters have a lifespan naturally in line with the business that parties are to do, maybe 6 months or 9 months. It doesn't serve the parties any good. For a matter, a project that is to be executed within a year, but the dispute arising from that project is spanning to 6-7 years. It's no longer serving anybody any good. And when things continue to happen this way, the public confidence in the court system becomes eroded. And once that happens, and it's already happening informally, it's already happening where people no longer want to resort to court for settlement of disputes and all. God forbid that day will come when the citizens will shun the court.
On the home stretch, let's bring you a recap of some of the top legal stories in the news.
We begin with the report of the Court of Appeal, Abuja, who has ordered members of the Academic Staff Union of the universities to resume work with immediate effect. The appellate court gave the order while ruling on an application by ASU seeking permission for it to appeal against the order of the National Industrial Court, which asked the striking lecturers to resume duty. The court also granted ASU conditional leave to appeal the order of the Industrial Court, while insisting that ASU must obey the order of the lower court with effect from today, October 7th. The three-man panel led by Justice Hammond Barker said for ASU to file its notice of appeal within 7 days, it must show evidence that its members have resumed work immediately. The panel held that failure to adhere to the order would make the appeal incompetent before Court of Appeal. Staying in Abuja, the Chief Judge of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has reassigned the trial of the suspended Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, and 3 others to a new judge. Idris, his technical assistant, Godfrey Olusegun Akindele, a director in the office of the AGF, Mohammed Kudu Usman, and a firm linked with Idris, Gazawa Commodity Market and Exchange Limited, will now stand trial before Justice Yusuf Halilu. They are facing a 14-count charge bordering on money laundering, stealing, and criminal breach of trust. In Abia State, a federal high court sitting in Umuahia has reserved October 27th for ruling on the Nnamdi Kanu's 8-point application over the alleged federal government's attack on his country home and extraordinary rendition from Kenya. The suit, which is before Justice Evelyn Anyadike, is sui generis and is primarily aimed at redressing the infamous unlawful expulsion or extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu, which is said to be a violation of his fundamental rights under Article 12, Subsection 4 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, as well as Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution. In another suit, Governor Adigboyega Oyetola of Osun State has appealed a federal high court judgment that nullified his nomination as a candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the July 16, 2022 governorship election in the state. The governor and his deputy, Benedict Alabi, have also filed an application before the Federal High Court in Abuja seeking to stay execution of the court judgment pending the final determination of the appeal. According to them, the decision of the Federal High Court was against the weight of evidence and constitutes a grave miscarriage of justice. They therefore ask the Court of Appeal to set aside the ruling of the lower court and affirm their nominations as valid and lawful. And we round up with the report that the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has given the nod to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency to detain a Lagos-based billionaire, Musafa Kennedy Ugochukwu, in its custody for a period of 14 days pending the conclusion of ongoing investigation for alleged drug trafficking. Justice Akintaye Alukoro made the order following an ex parte application filed by the NDLEA prosecutor, Mr. Umar Hussain.
And this is where we adjourn till next week. Don't forget that you can find this episode of the program and past episodes on our YouTube channel. After viewing, be sure to leave us a feedback. I'm Shola Shirley. Thank you for watching and see you next week.